On the 31st of August 1976, Ireland was rocked by a daring daylight robbery. The target was a mail train departing Sallins Station, its carriages laden with a significant sum of cash. The crime itself, audacious in its execution, became a mere footnote in history. It was the subsequent arrest and trial of 6 men, Michael Barrett, Osgur Breatnach, John Fitzpatrick, Nicky Kelly, Brian McNally and Mick Plunkett, that would sear the case into Ireland's collective memory. The Sallins Six, as they became known, were swiftly apprehended, their arrests sending shockwaves through a nation grappling with political unrest and a history of strained relations with its police force. Little did anyone know at the time this event would lay bare deep-seated flaws within the Irish justice system, its pursuit of convictions seemingly eclipsing the pursuit of truth. The arrests were swift, almost theatrical, feeding into a narrative of efficiency and competence. The Gardaí, Ireland's police force, paraded the 6 men before a public hungry for resolution. Yet, behind this facade of swift justice, a darker tale began to emerge. Whispers of brutality, of confessions coerced under the weight of violence began to circulate. The injuries borne by the accused, impossible to ignore, painted a grim picture. Bruises, lacerations, and the haunted look in their eyes spoke volumes. These were not the marks of a fair and impartial investigation. They were the hallmarks of a system that had lost its way, a system where the presumption of innocence seemed to vanish under the weight of suspicion. The trial itself was a spectacle, meticulously orchestrated yet riddled with inconsistencies. The prosecution's case hinged on the confessions, extracted under dubious circumstances, their validity hotly contested. Defense lawyers argued that these admissions of guilt were born not of genuine remorse but of fear, pain, and desperation. The courtroom became a battleground for truth, a space where the weight of the state with all its resources and authority pressed down heavily on the accused. The eyes of the nation, and indeed the world, were watching, their gaze fixed on a justice system teetering on the precipice of its own failings. At the heart of the Sallins case lay a chilling allegation that confessions, the bedrock of the prosecution's case, were extracted through brutality and intimidation. The accused men, each bearing the physical and psychological scars of their ordeal, recounted tales of horrific abuse at the hands of the Gardaí. Their testimonies painted a harrowing picture of a system that had abandoned its duty of care, replacing it with a culture of fear and violence. Nicky Kelly, one of the accused, would later describe being held in solitary confinement, subjected to relentless interrogation, and physically abused until he broke, his spirit crushed under the weight of his tormentors' fists. The details of the alleged abuse were deeply unsettling. Men were stripped naked, beaten with batons and fists, and deprived of sleep and basic necessities. These acts of degradation weren't random acts of cruelty. They were calculated to break the will of the accused, to coerce them into signing confessions that would secure convictions regardless of their veracity. The courtroom, transformed into a stage for justice, now echoed with the unspoken truths of suffering and despair. The legal teams representing the accused fought tirelessly, their voices rising above the din, demanding accountability and an end to the culture of impunity that shielded the perpetrators of such heinous acts. The allegations of Gardaí misconduct sent shockwaves through Irish society. It challenged the very foundation of law and order, exposing a dark underbelly of an institution entrusted with upholding justice. This wasn't just about 6 men and a train robbery. It was about the integrity of the entire system. The case ignited a fierce debate about police accountability, the limits of interrogation techniques, and the fundamental right to a fair trial free from coercion and violence. The Sallins Six, thrust into the spotlight through circumstances beyond their control, became unwilling symbols of a system in crisis. As the trial progressed, the cracks in the prosecution's case began to widen. The defense, through meticulous cross-examination and the presentation of medical evidence, exposed the inconsistencies and outright fabrications that riddled the state's narrative. The coerced confessions, once the cornerstone of the prosecution's case, crumbled under scrutiny, their authenticity irrevocably tarnished. The courtroom, initially a symbol of the state's power, transformed into a space where truth, however uncomfortable, clawed its way to the surface. The eventual outcome of the trial was a testament to the resilience of the accused and the unwavering commitment of their legal teams. Osgur Breatnach and Brian McNally were acquitted on appeal. their convictions overturned due to the undeniable taint of duress surrounding their confessions. Nicky Kelly, who had endured years of wrongful imprisonment, was finally released in 1984 after a long and arduous campaign for his freedom. He received a presidential pardon in 1992, a formal acknowledgement of the miscarriage of justice he had suffered, and £750,000 in compensation. These victories, however, were bittersweet, forever shadowed by the ordeal endured and the scars, both visible and invisible, that remained. Despite these legal victories, the Sallins case continued to cast a long shadow over the Irish justice system. The acquittals and pardon, while significant, did little to address the systemic issues that had allowed such a travesty of justice to occur in the first place. The question lingered. How could a system designed to uphold the law be so easily manipulated to serve the interests of the powerful? The Sallins case became a potent symbol of the need for reform, a stark reminder that the pursuit of justice must never come at the expense of truth and due process. The fight for a full accounting of the events at Sallins, for an acknowledgement of the systemic failures that allowed such injustices to occur, continues to this day. The Sallins case, far from fading into obscurity, has maintained a stubborn presence in the Irish consciousness. It stands as a stark reminder of the fragility of justice, particularly when confronted with the weight of state power. The case continues to fuel calls for a public inquiry, a demand for a full and transparent examination of the events surrounding the arrests, detentions, and trial of the Sallins Six. The families of those accused, along with human rights groups and legal experts, argue that only a comprehensive inquiry can provide the answers and accountability that have been elusive for far too long. In September 2023, a petition for a public inquiry, filed by the Irish Council for Civil Liberties and other human rights organizations, breathed new life into the fight for justice. The petition, backed by a compelling body of evidence, argues that the Sallins case is not an isolated incident, but rather indicative of a broader pattern of human rights violations within the Irish criminal justice system. The petition highlights the systemic issues that enabled the alleged abuses to occur and the subsequent lack of accountability for those responsible. It calls for a thorough examination of Gardaí interrogation techniques, the use of force, and the treatment of suspects in custody. The Sallins case, with its echoes of injustice and resilience, serves as a potent reminder that the pursuit of truth and accountability is a marathon, not a sprint. The ongoing campaign for a public inquiry is a testament to the enduring power of hope, the unwavering belief that even in the face of seemingly insurmountable obstacles, justice can prevail. The fight for the Sallins Six is a fight for the very soul of the Irish justice system, a fight to ensure that the mistakes of the past are not repeated, and that the principles of fairness and due process are upheld for all. The demand for a public inquiry is not merely about revisiting a dark chapter in Irish history, but about ensuring that such darkness never engulfs the nation again, that the light of truth and justice prevails. Thanks for watching. Please like, share, comment, and subscribe.